these are the days that define season.
Redden again. Cipriani, a little bit of floating magic. Cipriani scores for Wasps.
Wow.
They've been on the back foot all game, but Danny Cipriani strikes.
Gopeth, now Daly, and now Piatow! They don't do the ordinary. They do not do the ordinary. And players who couldn't watch that kick, players who turned their back on Jimmy Gopeth, envelop him in celebration, and the Rico goes mad. Howley is going down the line. Oh my goodness! Howley! What has happened there?
What has Poitrino done? He's waited for the ball to go. Howley will not give the cause up. It's infield. It's a try. It is a try.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. Hello. Welcome to episode 2 of the Wasps Report. I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host Rob Sutton. Rob, how you doing?
Yes, good, thanks. Hello, everybody.
And we are going to talk to you today about many topics, all about Wasps in a packed show. We're going to talk about James Haskell, his injury news, where Wasps go from here, the Champions Cup pool, draw, away trips, home fixtures, what are the games to look out for, do Wasps have a chance of progressing, and the Premiership fixtures. Is it a tough start? Have we got a tough end? Where can we pick up points throughout the season? All that and more. So, Rob, James Haskell, big news coming out today. We're recording this on the Wednesday. It came out late Tuesday. Out for 4 to 6 months.
Well, what a shame. What a terrible shame. Terrible timing for him as well, because he was sort of in the form of his life, really, over the summer. Very good season last season with us. And it's a massive blow for us to lose him. And obviously George Smith isn't coming back. So we've lost 2/3 of our back row. And we're not even close to the season starting yet. So, real blow.
It's huge because as a bloke, he's really come along the past 6 months. And considering he's been playing with that foot injury for the past 6 months, I think his performances have been fantastic.
Well, ridiculous then. If he's been playing with that injury, it's the best I've seen him play. Certainly in an England shirt ever, I think. Certainly the first 2 tests out in Australia.
Oh, absolutely. I thought he was incredible. I thought he had a really good Six Nations, and I mean we spoke about that when we were chatting through the summer tours, and it's a huge blow for us. And there are sections of the Wasp support that prefer Thomas Young at 7, that prefer some of the other players, but I just can't see past what Haskell brings to the table in that back row. As a leader and as a just straight up defensive technician, he is. I don't think there's anyone better in England at that role.
I think I agree, and I think looking at it from a Wasps perspective, I think there's a lot of responsibility now on Thomas Young's shoulders for the first part of the season. He did have a very good sort of middle to end of last season when he got the opportunities when Haskell was away with the Six Nations. But he's going to have to really step up on a consistent basis, which I'm sure he's capable of. And I'm just thinking whether Wasps might sort of look into the transfer market now for another flanker, either a 6 or a 7.
We have seen Dyer pull off these short-term signings, but some people would consider players who wouldn't fit the mould of a class signing, but these players have really come off well. So like the decision to bring Ben Jacobs back for his second spell,
Siali
Piatau last year, have really been huge decisions that have worked really well, and they were originally short-term contracts. And I can see Dye sort of going back to the well there, and pulling another one out the bag before the season starts.
And we're going to need, and we're going to come on to the fixtures later, but we're going to need him just for that first game, really. I mean, Exeter's back row was one of the best in the Premiership over the course of last season, so you don't want to be going in with sort of a makeshift back row to play Exeter.
Absolutely not. They have picked up, and they've almost done what we did back in our day, where they've taken players who've sort of almost calling them nomad players is a little bit unfair, but they've they've found a home at Exeter, and they're playing some of their best rugby there.
I think you can draw. There was a lot of comparisons between Exeter and Leicester City from the football last season. Sort of a team of, they don't really have any superstars. They may have one or two, like Henry Slade, potentially Thomas Waldrom as well, and they've made them. Rob Baxter's done a terrific job there in making them a team, and they've created a very specific culture in there, like Dyer's created a very specific culture at Wasps.
Yeah. And sort of to blend and segue into the discussion on fixtures, as opening games go, I think there's only one harder game, and that's to play Exeter at Sandy Park.
Yeah. I think if there's one team I would have said I would have avoided, it would have been Exeter. To be honest, I'm sick to the back teeth of them. That the Tomahawk Chop will be coming back to the Rico on the first weekend of September. Really looking forward to it, though. I think it's an excellent game, sort of commercially, for the club to start with. I can see us getting a big crowd for that game.
Well, from that sort of system, it borrows an idea, because I'm a massive American football fan, and in the NFL they always have on week one of the season, on the first game of the season, which is on a Thursday night, the Super Bowl winners in a big matchup against either one of their rivals or the team they've just played. So this year they've got a Super Bowl replay on opening night, and that is a hugely marketable game, and this has sort of feels like that for rugby.
Yeah,
coming into this first weekend.
And obviously nice as well that we're actually going to play our first home game in our home stadium. We'll be away from Twickenham for the first time in, years since we've had a home. I think in all the years I've watched Wasps, if we've had a home game to start, we've been the home team at Twickenham for the London doubleheader. So that will be sort of something new.
Yeah, I think I was maybe 10. I remember I went to the first doubleheader. So they've certainly been around a while.
Yeah, I think 2002, I think, was the first doubleheader, something like that.
Yeah, and it was. I liked the doubleheader. I thought it was a really good concept when it came in, and it worked really well for a number of years. But I think now with Irish going down and us not really being. Well, we're not a London club anymore. I think you're going to struggle to fill enough of Twickenham to create a really good atmosphere there. Yeah,
I'd agree with that, and I think they should have shelved it. They shouldn't have done it last season, and they should have left it. I think the first 13-14 season was a really good day. They had 70,000 there. They should have just left it at that when Wasps moved, and now obviously with Irish gone, we've got Bristol and is it Worcester playing there this year? Yeah, and whereas Bristol have a decent fan base, Worcester, with all respect, don't. And I mean, we know Saracens aren't exactly blessed with massive support, so you've really only got two clubs there, Quins and Bristol, with big fan bases. So, and we know Quins have shown they can sell out Twickenham. Absolutely. But there's a real difference between selling out Twickenham just after Christmas, where you can market the tickets. They do a really good job of marketing the tickets as a Christmas gift. You come along on Boxing Day or the 27th for a game at the rugby. And a bit of music as well. Bit of music. They put on a really good day. We played against them there, I think, a couple of years ago. 2009, yeah. And it was a really good day, I must admit. And I think that by doing the double header as well, Quins are almost shooting themselves in the foot Yeah, but I think the big game at Christmas, I think that markets itself now, because I went 2009 when we played in it, but I've been since as sort of a neutral. I saw Quins play Exeter a few years back, and then Northampton 2 seasons ago. And it's great to go as a neutral, to be honest with you. You just, as long as you don't tell them who you actually support, it's fun.
But I said this the other week about the Quins rivalry on Twitter, that I love the Quins rivalry.
Yeah.
Because as a club, whenever Wasps play Quins and when they're in the league, I want to beat Quins more than anything else, and I want to finish above Quins more than anything else. But I also quite like their style of play and some of their players. So they're a good team to cheer for against anyone else.
It's always a cracking game.
Yeah, it's a perfect rugby rivalry.
Yeah, but I think that sort of segues, because obviously Quins is part of our very difficult start to the Premiership season.
Yes.
I think that's our 5th game, something like that. Honestly, it doesn't get too much tougher than what we've been handed this season.
Yeah, but it's tough, but I think we've got the kind of squad with the mentality to just have a go early on. A lot of teams will try and ease their way into the season. I don't think we will, because that's not how we play best.
Yeah, I think it's not a disaster. Our first away game is Leicester, because playing Leicester early is not normally a bad thing.
And I think if we can go, you're right. They start slow often. And if we can go there and play without fear in what will be a well-kept Welford Road, it won't be a bog like it is in the middle of February.
Yeah.
It should be decent weather.
No, it won't be.
Middle of September, it should be okay enough weather that we can give them the run around, and it should be it'll be an absolutely outstanding game of rugby.
Yeah, well, it's a big game for me personally, being a student in Leicester. That's the game of the season for me, the home and away games against the Tigers. But so I'm pretty annoyed because it's on the 2 weekends of the season that fall outside of my term time. But there we go. And also just sort of looking down them as well. We obviously go to Saracens quite early. I'm sure they'll be wanting to get us back at Allianz Park for what happened last season. Yes,
that will be a tough one, I think. Who knows? They might fill it.
The trouble we've got with that game is I don't think it's a trouble, but it will be also very interesting, is they won't lose any England players that game. It will be during a period of the season when the England players are there. So I think that's why we won the game there. They were without their England players, so it'll be really interesting to see how Wasps go against a full Saracens team on the artificial surface.
Yeah, I don't really agree there. I mean, they did obviously. They were missing Billy. They were missing Owen Farrell, and they were missing Itoje. So they are missing 3 class players. But we didn't have Launchbury. We didn't have Daly.
We did have Daly.
Did we have Daly? I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did. We were only missing Launchbury and Haskell, really.
Yeah.
And I don't think Gopeth played.
I think maybe Gopeth did, but Jackson wasn't there, or Jackson was there to start but didn't play because he was called up by Scotland. But they probably were missing more players in key positions, we were missing players still.
Yeah.
And I went back and rewatched that game recently, because who doesn't? If you've beaten Saracens by that many points, try and do it once a month. Go back and rewatch that game. But Christian Wade and Elliot Daly were so quiet in that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't our big players that won us the game down there. It was people like Nathan Hughes and Tom Young and Dan Robson. They really, back then, weren't big players for the team. Hughes was, but the others weren't, and they really burst onto the scene in that performance. And I think if we can harness that this year a little bit more, and we could go down there and really, really frighten them. And come away with a win. Definitely could come away with a win. And
obviously we'll play Saracens as the final home game of the season. I mean, what a humdinger that game could be.
Yeah. The dream, my dream scenario, Wasps are top by that point. But Exeter are second, and they can catch us, so we still have to go out and win the last game of the season. And Saracens are fourth, and if we win, they're denied a spot in the semi-finals. But I don't think that will happen. I think they will end up top of the pile.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we'll be in miracle territory if Saracens don't finish in the top four.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to suffer that for another year, living here in Essex, where everyone's a Saracens fan.
Yeah, and at least with Leicester, they're fairly quiet at the moment. They're more interested in the football.
Yeah. But I think I imagine that Saracens will finish top of the pile again. I think Exeter will be up there.
Yeah, I think to be honest, there's every chance we'll see exactly the same top four. Just I think Wasps might finish above Exeter, hopefully.
Yeah, Northampton will be stronger. They won't be decimated by injury the same way they were this year, and they've picked up a couple of signings. I mean, Pickermole coming in could be a fantastic signing.
Yeah, he's a bit hit and miss, isn't he?
He has been the last few years. He struggled a bit with injury. I think he's been in and out of the France team, and I'm not sure on that signing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a wait and see. But Jim Malander has got and Northampton have got form with sort of internationals towards the end of their career. Carlos Spencer was there for them. So I think Saints is going to be a bit of a wait and see. That's another team we play early and could catch cold, I think.
Yeah, we play them at Franklin's Gardens as our fourth game of the season, the second away game, and they're a team I think we can beat at Franklin's Gardens now on a consistent basis. Now we've gone there and won with this group of players, young players. They'll believe that they can go there and win. There's none of the hoodoo hanging over them, and that's great because
I think there was always a fear factor of going there until this season.
Well, for a lot of the players who've been long-term servants at the club, going there and losing was just the norm.
Yeah, it was sort of you look at the fixture list, you'd cross that off. If we get a losing bonus point, thank you very much. On to the next game.
But I think with this new group that we've sort of been bringing through, and Dye's evolved to using, they've gone there and won now, and they have got they can have no fear when they go back, and I think that's only a good thing.
Yeah.
But going on to the end of the season, as you say, as I said, it's tough running. I mean, Saracens' last game is tough, but the 3 games before that, Northampton at home, Bristol away, Quins away, is not an easy end to the season.
No, I think Bristol away is going to be a very difficult fixture because I would imagine they are going to be scrapping for their lives come that game. And I think they've got every chance of staying up because they're going to be difficult to beat down at Ashton Gate. And I think they could cause us a few problems, particularly as that game sort of falls sort of around European knockout times. Wasps could be a bit battered and bruised by that stage. So
it comes.
Yeah, I think it's good for the league that Bristol are back because I think they're going to be very competitive.
It falls in the week before the semi-final, which is quite important, but that does then mean we play Quins the week after the semi-final.
Yeah.
If we were to get there, obviously it's all ifs, buts and maybes at the minute. But that could be tough. I think Bristol, I think you're underselling them a bit, saying they might be scrapping for their lives. I think they'll survive quite comfortably this year. I think there are 2 teams who I would picture as worse than them. Andy Robinson, for all his failings with Scotland and England, is a shrewd operator at club level. He's got the best out of that team eventually, and he's got them up in a fashion, and the rugby they play will make them tough to beat in the Premiership, and I think they will pick up points, especially at home. They've announced today that they want to try and fill the stadium every week, and they're offering very good deals on tickets. I read an article. It didn't really go into specific details, but the chairman at Bristol seems to want a full stadium rather than significantly priced tickets.
I think they've got 16 or 17,000 seats down at Ashton Gate. I think something like that. Anyway, and I'm sure they'll fill it for their big games. You sort of your Baths, your Gloucesters, your Exeters. So looking forward to having him back, and that's an early game for us as well, isn't it? I think the second home game is Bristol.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I think that'll be an excellent occasion at the Ricoh, because I'm sure they'll bring up a decent travelling support.
Yeah, Ashton Gate is actually. I just looked it up. I don't know this off the top of my head. Is actually 27,000 seater stadium. It's been expanded in recent years, and so that puts it second only to us in terms of size, and that's why I think they'll survive. I think they've just got too much quality in their squad, bolstered by the fact they can pay those players a lot of money because they're quite a rich club, Bristol.
Yeah,
they're a big club. And they've got a very good big stadium that, if they fill it, will bring them in significant revenue. The guy, and it's where they share the football ground. It's not like how we've shared in the past, where the ground's owned by the football club and they're paying a percentage of the matchday revenue. I believe they're owned by the same bloke that owns the football club.
Yeah, it is, because it's all sort of part of a Bristol sport project. Because I was down there for football actually with Milton Keynes Dons earlier in the season, and I was talking to a few of the Bristol City supporters, who the other team at Ashton Gate, and they were saying how they really sort of welcomed it. It's really given stability to the two clubs. Bristol City have done brilliantly to get into the Championship in the football and sustain their place there. Bristol Rugby is now back in the Premiership, and I think they're hoping to be sort of challenging for top 6 in a couple of seasons' time. So I think it's really good. They just needed to get that sort of Championship playoff final hurdle sorted. Now they're up. I think they'll be good.
Yeah, I really don't rate the Championship system playoffs.
No,
I think if you win the league there, you should come up. I like the playoff system in the Premiership because I like the idea of having a club game final where 80,000 people go. And it's a really big money-making event, and it's great for the sport to do it. And I just like the drama of it all.
It's big for non-rugby fans to watch as well. It's a big sort of TV event, that.
Yeah, and I think it's been huge in growing the game in this country. But at Championship level, where it's played over 2 legs and one game at home, one game away, and it's midweek on Sky, and I just don't like that format. I think if you win that league, you should just come up, because there are times over the last few years where Bristol have been far and away the best team in that league over the course of the whole season. They've picked up a couple of injuries towards the end of it and been beaten in the Championship playoffs. And we've had the fiasco that was London Welsh in the Premiership.
Yeah, I think that was the one that really hurt Bristol. I think not so much the Worcester coming up, because obviously they've come up and stayed up, but London Welsh was just an absolute farce, really, to be honest.
Yeah, and I went. We decided on the morning of London Welsh away, it was up in Oxford, me and my dad, to go, and there were more Wasps fans.
Yeah, I went as well.
In the stand, it was probably 4 or 5 to 1.
Yeah,
Wasps fans to London Welsh fans, and it was a sad time for them and for everyone, really. I believe it's good now that we've got Bristol up, and I think they'll be very competitive this year.
Yeah. Right, Europe.
Yeah, I'm just happy saying that we're in the Champions Cup, really, let alone that we got to a semi-final last year. It almost seems almost giddy heights for me to talk about, having watched us in Challenge Cup pool stages against Italian sides with barely 1,000 people there. Mm-hmm. It feels good to say confidently, mark in when the Champions Cup draw is going to be on the calendar.
And also, I think this year we can probably safely say we're probably favourites to win that group.
Yeah, and there are teams in there that I think could present a challenge if we go into it too confident that we're going to win the group. And I don't think Dye will. And Dye's one thing you could never ever accuse him of is overconfidence.
No, absolutely.
He's very good on that front. But I think Connacht, the first game, or well, we don't know the order of the games, but the first team drawn into the pool will be tough. They've got some great players there, and they as a team they have a never say die attitude. That someone in Pat Lam who seems to really have brought out of them, which I'd have never have guessed because I've links to friends that live in Auckland, so I follow the Blues quite extensively. And Pat Lam, when he coached the Blues side was so shoddy and had no fighting spirit. To see him come up and do so well in Ireland is testament to the type of guy he is and the type of group of players they've got there.
Yeah.
And I can just see us now having to go to Galway on a windy, cold night in December, Friday night in December, and having a really, really hard slog of a game.
Yeah, but I think Wasps would certainly back themselves to win all three of the home games, and then you're sort of looking at what you can get away. I'm not sure Toulouse are the force they once were, so I'm not sure there's a massive fear. I mean, it won't be an easy game going out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's a huge fear factor going out there. I think we've got every chance of getting a result in Toulouse as well.
Oh, absolutely. Toulouse have got some great players out there, but they are quintessentially French.
Yeah.
In that they've got a lot of stylish players, and I don't think they've got a lot of substance there. You look at players they've had there or have there, and players like Luke McAllister, who is technically and is a very skillful player, but does he have the mentality of someone like a Danny Cipriani? And for someone to be compared to Cipriani, saying they have a worse mentality,
absolutely,
is a big thing. And Cipriani, I think, has got as good a core skills as someone like a McAllister, these showmen, the Quade Coopers, but I think he's a bit more tuned in to the actual game management side.
Yeah.
And I think that will show.
Yeah, but really looking forward to having Toulouse back in our group. Obviously, there's a lot of history between the two clubs.
Yeah.
And a lot of late finishes as well. So if you are coming to the Toulouse game at the Rico, don't leave early. That's probably my advice.
Absolutely. And if you are...
Rob Howley and David Lemmy.
Yes. And I think if the Wasps fans going out to Toulouse, I think we should organise a Rob Howley mask wearing group to go out there.
Depending on the fixtures, I'm hoping to go out to Toulouse. So depending on when the dates fall. So I'm sure that'll be an excellent trip.
Yeah, well, I've never had a bad trip going away with Wasps. I must say that we're a great group of fans to travel with, especially in the smaller towns. If you went, as I mentioned last time, I went to Cast, and almost as a group we took over bits of the town.
Yeah.
Because the quintessential, you go abroad, you find the Irish pub, and you go and all meet up in there and have a drink, and we did on that night, and it was fantastic. It was a great sort of couple of days, and I know this year I'm definitely going to do Galway for the trip to face Connacht, and I think we're going to go to Palmer as well when we face off against Zebra, who, without being unkind, I imagine are the whipping boys of this pool, and I would expect 10 points out of them.
Well, I was chatting to one of my friends who's a Cardiff Blues supporter, and he said this lot are apparently worse than Treviso. So I think if you're coming to the home leg, I think you might want to bring a calculator for our score for that game, hopefully. So I think, to be honest, it's very rare for the winner of the pool with the Italian team not to have a home quarter final. So if Wasps win the pool, I think more likely they'll have a home tie.
Especially if we could target 10 points there and get a bit of luck and pick up a try bonus at home to Toulouse.
Yeah.
Those 3 games, that puts you on 15 points, and you're
pretty much there, aren't you?
Well in for a home quarter final then. Because I'd expect, as you say, to win all our home games, so that would be another 4 points on top of that. So with 19 points.
19 got us through last year, so we had 20.
I think you're going to qualify with 19, and then you've got the 2 away games to decide whether you're top of your pool or you're...
Yeah, I think the Connacht away game will be sort of a free hit for us. I'm not sure too many will back us to win out there.
No, I think they're too good of a side for us to be back to win out there, especially in it's supposed to be a very good atmosphere at the stadium, and as I say,
it's a pretty small venue, but it's pretty passionate. It's a bit like, I think it's sort of the Pro 12 equivalent of Sandy Park.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of comparisons drawn between them and Exeter, because they've really built something over a number of years there, and it's been I've really enjoyed watching them play. I can't say I watched huge amounts of the Pro 12 over the last year. I've sort of checked it out when you hear stories about Bundyaki and some of the other big Connacht players, and so I've checked out bits of them, and I watched the final, and it seems that their fans really do bring the noise, and that'll be a really good trip, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, a couple of retirements over the past couple of days. Nicky Robinson announced he was retiring. A hero of seasons past.
Yes, I think my Nicky Robinson memory was the relegation match against Newcastle when he nailed a touchline conversion that put Wasps 10-0 in front. It was a superb kick. Adams Park went deathly quiet. I've never heard anything like it. Literally, you could hear sort of birds twittering away, and then he put over a fantastic kick for us. So I really enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, he was very good to watch. I don't know how he got that kick, because I swear if you'd have put him the week before, if you'd have put him in front of the post to kick, he would have missed.
That was always the thing with Nicky. You never knew what was going to come out of the kicking tee. He was either going to be shocking or brilliant.
But he really got us going at times, and we played some great rugby in that season. At times, but lost, yeah. But he seems to be a really nice guy in the dressing room as well, and there's a lot of respect. A lot of clubs out paying their respects to him, which I really like to see.
Yeah, Bristol, I think he was a big character down at Bristol, I think, and the Blues as well, Cardiff. Yeah,
and Gloucester. He was at Gloucester for a while. I saw them paying tribute to him. And so yeah, I thought congratulations to him on a very good career.
Yeah, and something I wanted to bring up as well. Obviously the Premiership Sevens is now just around the corner. I think our group stage is down at Sandy Park with Bath, Bristol and Exeter and ourselves. And obviously the Rico will be hosting the grand final on the 7th of August. Ticket sales going well for that, apparently, so that should be a great day out. Yeah,
it should be a really good atmosphere. I'd like to hope that that final, if they can pull some of the things that the London Sevens used to do, with creating a really good party atmosphere around it.
It's being marketed as sort of a Coventry carnival. So,
it would be a really good day, because although they've tried to curb it a little bit in recent years, the London Sevens, up until a couple of years ago, was one of the best rugby events to go to.
Yeah, it really was.
Because everyone gets dressed up. You see people from around the world who come, and they are lovely people to sit with. I went sort of 3 years on the trot, and we had sitting with Kenyan people and Kiwis and South Africans and Argentinians, and all of them, all these people from around the world. A lot of them live in London, but they've come over here from their respective nations, and they put on a great show. And if we could harness some of that and really put on a good night, and hope that in the end the Rico gets chosen year after year for the finals to come back, that'd be huge for the club.
Yeah, I think it will prove popular. Drawing sort of comparisons with cricket, we've got the NatWest T20 Blast, which is sort of our big competition, and the finals day for that, which is where we play the semi-finals and the final on the same day. It's always at Edgbaston, because they do it very well, and also it's a very easy location. And I mean, I think the same would apply to the Rico. You're sort of bang in the middle of the country, whereas when it's been at the Stoot, more teams have got to travel further.
Yeah, I think it could be really good, and it's on Sky, I believe. Is it BT? I thought it was Sky that were carrying it.
No,
but
BT are doing it this year.
Oh, even better. And I think their coverage would be great as well. They always do a really good job. And obviously with Bristol, you've got the added bonus that a certain Wasps legend might be strutting his stuff, Mr. Tom Varndell. I don't know whether he's going to play or not in the sevens for them, but he will definitely be there when we play them in the opening weeks of the season.
I think the word is he won't play the group stage, but if they get to the final, he might.
Okay, so I can't really remember the
It's basically
format. Is it
there's
group winner?
There's four regionals, and the top two from each group go into the finals.
So it's the top two. It's not the.
Yeah, so there's 8 teams in the finals, and then they do sort of quarters, semis, and final.
Okay, yeah, that will be that's an interesting, because I think before there's only been 12 teams, but now there's the Welsh regions.
Yeah, so there's 4 events. So it starts in Cardiff, then there's our event in Exeter, there's one at Northampton, and there's one at Newcastle, and then sort of the 8 teams from that get through.
Yeah, I think, as I say, it should be a great event at the Rico, and if you haven't bought tickets and you're local to the area, or even you fancy travelling up, I'd definitely go. It'll be Rugby Sevens, if you've never watched it before, it's
well worth a watch.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's really good, and especially with the Olympics around the corner.
Absolutely.
Show your support for Rugby Sevens, because as an event, it embodies the Olympic spirit, because the Olympics will be the biggest thing in sevens, and we've seen 15s players trying to get to go, so I think it'd be a great Olympic event, and it should be a great Premiership event, and it's one I'm glad that the club have said they're targeting to bring some youngsters through, because we saw with our guys at the under-20s, and we've seen a couple of other youngsters do really well on loan at championship clubs. Some of those guys get a chance to really get out and show what they can do in front of the Rico crowd. It will be a great experience for them. Yeah.
And I think one last thing as well, I'm sure most people have seen this, but of course we're going to have one pre-season friendly up at the Rico on the 21st of August. We're going to be playing Yorkshire, or as formerly known as Leeds. So a chance to see some of the new boys before the Exeter game.
Yeah, I saw Yorkshire play against Doncaster, I believe, in the Championship semi-final. I sat down and watched that game, and they're a decent side, though. It shouldn't be that much of a test. I think we should come through that rather easily in the end. But they'll put up a fight for the boys, and it'll be a good pre-season hit out. For some of the players, some of the guys like Nathan Hughes who've had an extended period of rest, be good for them to get their boots back on and get out there.
Absolutely.
I don't think you'll see much of the England boys or the touring.
I don't think you'll see any of the players who went on tour. They'll be held back for the Premiership, I'd have thought.
Yeah, you might see them get 20 minutes in one of the pre-season games, but I don't think you'll see much of them. But I'm excited to seeing other players. The one player who I'm really, really excited to see this year, after a full pre-season where he's fully fit and he's really integrated into the squad, is Frank Halley.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I've seen him, and me and him actually have quite a good rapport on Twitter, because I've been sort of chatting to him on there since his days at the Blues, and I saw him when he burst onto the scene for them. He looked like, well, there were comparisons made to a young Jonah Lomu because of the way he is. He's very big, he's very fast, and although he's lost a little bit of that pace with a bad injury he had about this time last year, he was just recovering from this time last year, he has the ability, I think, with this pre-season under his belt, working with the sprint coaches that Wasps have brought back in like they did last season. For those of you that don't know, Wasps worked with Darren Campbell throughout pre-season, who is an ex-GB sprinter. He comes in and coaches them their sprinting technique and how to improve their running style. And I think that will benefit Frank, and he'll be an absolute dynamite player if he can get back to his early form with his newfound experience and rugby brain.
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to an end again. If you would be so kind, if you've enjoyed listening to the podcast, enjoyed listening to me and Rob, go on to Twitter if you have it. Go to @TheWaspsReport. Give us a follow. Both mine and Rob's personal Twitters are there in the description. Give us a follow on there if you want a bit more of a wider chat, sports, politics, although we don't get too serious with the politics.
No.
It's, God, we wouldn't want to do that. I sometimes say some bits that are a bit funny. Every so often it occurs. Yeah.
I'm sort of in cricket mode at the moment, so if you fancy talking about cricket, come on over.
Yeah, and as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for all the help, everyone that's sort of retweeted things and given us feedback on the first couple of episodes. Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.